science solve Uganda's problems? For example, in Chigo, we've battled with electricity this week. We are battling with national water. Old Chira Road is there. Shouldn't Science Week be tackling these issues? Because NRM of Emmanuel Dombo is just not doing the things.
Thank you very much. Indeed, science should be tackling those things, and we are tackling them.
Really?
Yes, because those are products of technology. But we are coming. Some of them we are using the available technology, and sometimes it just needs a little bit of intervention, which you know that Uganda has come a long way from the time when we used to have load shading.
In fact,
we had load shading, but now when the power goes off, you're surprised.
It is, we are like a modern village. Solar lights along the streets, but we don't have water. We don't have electricity. We have a minister of ICT.
And you're near water?
Well, solve problems, and we are near water.
I think there is something local there which will be looked into. But let's get back to Science Week. Science.
But do you take the note that?
Yes, I've taken note.
Yeah.
I've taken note of that.
Science should help us.
Yes, science must help.
Yes.
Science must help. But so week. This week up to the 20th, Science Week is back. This is our 4th edition of Science Week. And we'll be at Kororo as usual. And we are transforming Kororo into the Uganda that we all aspire to see. And we will be exhibiting a lot of things. And let me begin by inviting first the Capital Gang. I would love to see all of you. We were checking outside there with the Honorable Ssemujju, and the last message he sent me, he was responding because I had invited him personally for Science Week.
Last year or this year?
The last Science Week, which was 2023. So at this time, I'm going to send the message again. Please, you are welcome to Science Week. There is even a special policy day. On this Science Week, this year, we will be exhibiting especially innovations and technology which has been developed. Our theme is from the lab to the market, from research to the market. Because we have come a long way, right now we are on the market. We are taking things that we started to research on, that we started to innovate, that we started to build younger industries on. And although we are still doing that, what we want to show you mostly are the things which are ready for us to buy. They are ready for us to sell. They are ready to address our challenges. So in the Science Week, we'll be exhibiting the progress with mobility solutions. I think you've seen the buses. And those of you from Jinja side, you have seen the e-bus express. We have even demonstrated how those
we
buses.
have some. Kira,
yes.
We have those buses.
Yes, you've seen the buses. Sit in that bus and feel the difference. It's comfortable, more comfortable than some of our personal cars. We have made a lot of progress in motorcycles. Motorcycles have been playing a big role in polluting the city. So now we are making motorcycles, electric motorbikes, and we are replacing the borders. So come and see the technologies and the things that we have developed. We have made a lot of progress with drugs, with medicines, many times people ask me, where are we? Some of these things are better seen than told. When you come, you will see the progress we have made with the vaccines, the progress we have made with the drugs. Then in these electronics, the modern technologies, the things that we are making, things that Uganda has just sort of been quiet a bit, but we have now started to manufacture computers and designed, manufactured here in Uganda. So please come and see the technologies, even the softwares which are running them. We have the engineering, which we call infrastructure innovations, come and see what technologies we have developed. Uganda is exporting a lot of gold, but most of our gold mining is crude. So we have developed technologies to help our miners, these small scale miners, the artisans, so that they can work better, safer. But we have also developed additional technologies to process iron ore. You know, every time we talk about it, we are thinking, oh, who will come and do it? But now we are saying, can't we Ugandans develop technologies to do this? There is space. You know, sometime we sent a satellite, and people have held me on that.
Yeah.
But
It disappeared.
no, it is like Hon Ssemujju, it's like if you are raising a chicken, like a broiler, it has a lifespan. So even a satellite has a lifespan. But come and see the progress that we have made with, because that one we had made it in Japan. Now we are making satellites, our satellites here. Come and see what we have improved with that. Then value addition. If you have your broiler that it has lasted for a long time, the broiler is the sweetest when it is just those few months when it is alive. So you know is another one. So we are now building actually the layer one, the one which takes very long, which we have put in space. And the ecosystem, many of you have innovators. You have young people. And you know they are looking everywhere, looking for jobs, looking for what. Come and see the things that we have put in place to support those young people, because many of them have things outside there. They are struggling on their own. We give a lot of support, not just financial. We give a lot of technical support. We are bringing all these things here. So we will be exhibiting our Deep Tech Center. Many of you have young people who have graduated computer in a form of engineering. Let them come and interact with the others. Instead of walking the streets looking for jobs, they can come to these centers and be supported.
So I'm interested in the Made in Uganda. Like, what products do you have?
So in the Made in Uganda, we have products in all this. Made in Uganda is where we are showcasing where we have reached with the products ready for market. That many people, when they think about things made in Uganda, they think about crude things. They don't think about refined international grade products that you can, which are better than the ones which you are preferring to buy when you go to the supermarkets. So we put there a huge supermarket which is showing things that have come from our technology, our innovations, those which have reached market, those which have been certified. Please come with some money to buy, because we'll be selling.
So is it free to come into the
Yes, it is absolutely free. You can come on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We don't stop you.
The green truck will not be there to stop us?
No, for your security, yes. You know what happened on Matters Day. We don't want that to happen. But they will be there to protect you and welcome you, not to stop you. You are going to come in and... I request that you plan to come for at least 2 to 3 days if you want to appreciate the things. And it is really, really good that you see what your country is doing, because these are the things which are taking over your economy. They are the ones which you are now going to see. We are gradually replacing things in our shops. We are gradually replacing things even downtown. Yesterday I was meeting with the leather processing people, connecting the people who are making and the ones who are selling. These are things that are gradually replacing. This is the space where we are creating the jobs for the young people. Please come and let's be together. I'm shifting. During Science Week, I shift my office. I put my office at Kororo. So there are people who have been trying to make appointments. Please come and meet me there.
I'll send you students as well. Honorable Ssemujju, you are interested in budget things. How much money have you given to Dr. Musenero in the budget? And also, is she fighting a battle she may lose? The reason I ask this is because electric cars, the tax is back. So if she's campaigning for Kira Motors and then the tax, you people in parliament put a tax on electric cars, it's kind of contradictory.
first of all, government has listed priorities in the budget, what they call ATMIS, agro-industrialization. That is, in those priorities, it represents science. That these are now the 4-5 priorities of government, and it has been like that for a number of years now, including tourism, agro-processing, ICT. But the allocations to those key sectors, all of them combined, is 4 trillion in a budget of 72 trillion. So the key priority sector in government includes Dr. Musenero's science. But the allocation, 4 trillion, all of them. Agriculture, I think, has about 1.8. Science, I was confirming there, I'm not sure, and I don't want to take her figure, is about 400 billion. I need to check. I have sent my staff to send me the budget for science. So these things, these priorities are as good as a slogan. But there is no actual fund. I mean, look, Oscar, you have a budget of 72 trillion. The key priorities in the budget, 4 trillion. And then you go to Kololo and tell people that we are developing science. It's just a joke. So that's the starting point. But I want to take you back to history, if you don't mind, Oscar. Even the struggle we had in Parliament when Dr. Musenero's ministry was being created, the president wanted it at his residence, State House. Say this ministry will be housed in the State House. We are the ones fighting, and interestingly, you see, these days, I maybe the scientist, Dr. Musenero, will help me. I tried to check NRM MPs. You go to Parliament, make a very good proposal, they vote against it. They meet you in the corridor and thank you for the good proposal. And then you keep asking. So Musenero, when we were fighting for her ministry, she was the one who was saying it should be resident in the State House. We said no, let this ministry be independent, it should be made a vote, and we succeeded. But the one who brought a proposal, this Dr. Musenero here, had accepted that it can be casually handled by M7.
So you're the one who proposed that should be
a vote. They didn't actually want to create a vote.
And then RMP supported you.
Then MPs occasionally, because even a madman, you will meet him eating. So when you meet him eat, it doesn't mean that now he has become sane. So sometimes they do normal things that normal people do. You're asking something that is obvious. So you mean a madman dies. So the point, so I wanted to give you that history, Oscar, and then come to the real issues. So the funding does not commensurate with the publicity that is done around the science as one of the key priorities. And I have told you, even the priorities, because you have Kira Motors, I have visited. The complex now looks a very good complex. The first question I asked them when I went there, are you guys assembling or you are manufacturing? You have heard we are now manufacturing motorcycles. And I asked them... And
the buses were manufacturing.
You are not manufacturing. I asked them, tell me the percentage of the Ugandan raw material into these buses. At that time, they told me bamboo tree and something else that comes to about 20%. The rest of the parts are imported. These guys just fix it and then put a bamboo tree and paint and on the street, and then they say this is manufactured in Uganda. There is no manufacturing there. But even assembling itself is very good for a country. Kenya does that. It actually reduces the cost of these motor vehicles and so on and so forth. The trouble is that Dr. Musenero, she promises what she cannot do, undermining where we should give her credit for what she has done. Because you have told me you're going to manufacture a car, and I asked you, tell me the raw materials from Uganda that you are using, and then
but isn't that pedantic? If you go to a car garage now,
yes,
they no longer repair anything. You know, the mechanic, a good mechanic should know what to replace.
Yeah, but a mechanic, Oscar, a mechanic cannot tell me that I'm manufacturing a car. That will be a lie.
Yeah.
So you actually agree with me. So the work that they do
with you, I'm just saying it's a small thing.
It isn't. It isn't. I was in Ethiopia. I was in Ethiopia. I visited their military. is assembling vehicles, and they don't lie. They tell you assemble. They even have small parts, and the starting point.
I'm not going to buy a car from Ethiopia.
It doesn't matter, but I'm telling you what they are doing. The president went there, was very happy. He said he had wanted UPDF to do it, they couldn't do it. They bring parts and add steel and a few things from Ethiopia. But they don't call it a car manufacturer, they call it a car assembly point. My trouble with Musenero is that I'm not even sure that at this stage it is an assembly point, but he wants to present it as a car.
My challenge with you is that it's a small thing.
That's your opinion.
Has been assembling Isuzu for a while, and
so do they become the manufacturer of Isuzu
in East Africa? Yes,
they are manufacturers.
Yes.
Okay, maybe we differ.
So
but
they build the body buses.
They're just building a frame.
Yes.
And that's what Musenero is doing.
No.
So,
I make my own chassis.
But
I make my own chassis. You allow me explain.
Yes.
If you are assembling a vehicle internationally, you will not get a vehicle identification number. That is only given to people internationally accredited as manufacturers. And Chira Motors has a vehicle identification number. Now, there are people who assemble buses in Uganda. There are people who are assembling other vehicles in Uganda. Chira Motors currently is the only company that has qualified to get what we call a VIN. So vehicles made by Chira Motors, wherever they go, they are recognized as vehicles manufactured in Uganda. I think we confuse sourcing imports with assembly. We make our own chassis. We make our own body. Every manufacturer, whether Toyota, whether Mercedes-Benz, they all source parts. They source parts. So Uganda, what we are doing, and the factory. Hon Ssemujju, have you been there since we opened the automated part?
I need to go back, but I've been there.
So that one I need to clarify to Ugandans. We are manufacturers.
I'll also clarify to Ugandans listening. We call it chassis. You saying the correct
in science we call
French,
it a chassis.
But it's chassis. I could see some of you are not educated.
I know. So we have
I follow Formula One, these racing cars, and I can tell you a car can have nuts from France.
I agree.
Pipe from the UK.
I agree, Oscar. Now I am coming to the bigger point. The bigger point, they do that in petroleum. You will go and do exploration, and then you determine whether the amount available is of a commercial quantity. That is what Musenero will need to deal with. That this vehicle for which you are sourcing parts from all over the world, that when you put it to the market, it will not be expensive, because people are buying and you are not doing them a favor. They will go around looking for prices and quality, and then they will determine where they pick their buses from. No wonder, Oscar, the last time we visited them, they had wanted to sell about 500 buses to KCCA, but KCCA had contracted another person. They said, we no longer need your buses. I don't know since you started, because you've now spent more than 400 billion on Chira Motors. I don't know how many buses, because at that time your report, Dr. Musenero, was that you had produced 80 buses. We had spent it, of course the money was for building the complex and so on and so forth. So I want to hear, and then we start, that today we are able, I'll use the word manufacturing because that's what she's marketing, but me I think they're assembling. But whether it is assembling or not, I want to know that the amount of money we put in that complex, starting next financial year, Musenero will be contributing this amount to the national budget. But otherwise, year in, year out, they come for money to go and buy nuts and buy frames and buy what, and then paint and throw some buses on the street and come for more money. So what sort of business are we? Do we have a comparative advantage in that business? And then finally, Oscar, these initiatives sometimes, they are very good initiatives. but the purpose for which you are engaging in them must be explained. And I told Dr. Musenero, that's why I was not as angry with her as other MPs. Because science, you may spend money and produce nothing. Because that's what science is about. That you go out to go and explore, to test, to do this and that. At the end of the day, you must be frank. To come and say we undertook this experiment, we spend so much money, it did not yield anything. Science is about that. But Musenero will tell the country that we are undertaking this, wait for the product next week. If it doesn't, they want to lynch her. So as a scientist, you need to stop talking like a Dombo who speaks for NRM. You create problems for your own sector. Because Dombo will promise what he will not deliver. So their science, they first announce a product and then undertake the experiment. It doesn't work, so we are angry with her because she went to undertake a scientific experiment that delivered zero, yet they do all over the world.
First and foremost, I want to congratulate Honorable Musenero, the ministry and the government. You know, I was in Parliament when some of the things started, and you could have watched the members of Parliament who were so pessimistic about whatever innovations that government was talking about. But when you look at the human development and societal transformation, every stage of transformation was defined by advancement in science. Every stage of transformation, from primitive mankind, we came to the Industrial Revolution, we are now in the space age. Whatever level of transformation, it has been defined by scientific transformation and innovation and discovery. So when President Museveni raised these issues when we were in Parliament, even now in NRM caucuses and at times when we were in Changwanzi, many people despised. There is a time when Honorable Musenero came to Changwanzi with the other small car, Kira. This is called Kira. Kira, and people disparaged it. People called it all sorts of names. When this gentleman, this Musoga man, the scientist who is making pharmacy,
Magola.
Mr. Magola.
You want to bring Magola, you are going to spoil our breakfast.
No. When Mr. Magola came in here to tell people that it is possible to get into the pharmaceutical world and innovate, people despised.
But Oscar, and Dombo, that man, we gave him money to produce vaccine during COVID. COVID ended without him producing even one single.
But that's what you have just said here yourself. That science is about that.
I agree.
Getting money and at times failing.
Yes.
So if science is about that, don't complain. And that's what we are doing. That progressively, you have reached a level now. Honorable Musenero has something to go and demonstrate and also exhibit. So let's Ugandans go there and see what people are capable of doing.
Yeah.
And let our scientists be proud. You know, when I was a young man, I kept wondering, why is it that foreign universities or foreign countries, they are very eager to pick the brightest children in Makerere, all those who had secured first class and nearby, and were being given scholarships, and they go to develop products, thesis, and so many concepts which remain the preserve of the universities they have gone to, when the countries they have come from remain backward and bankrupt. So these innovations, problematic as they may be, I don't think Honorable Musenero has made 100% achievement in whatever she has started.
No, and I never promised that, because then that wouldn't be science.
When I was in Parliament, I had an opportunity to visit the Boeing company. They manufactured the Boeing airplane. But you would see that the seats come from China, the body parts come from Indonesia, the electronics come from Israel, this one comes from here, but
the heart.
But they manufacture planes. So for us, in areas where the manufacturing has already been done, the body is made and shaped this way, and it will be cheaper for us to outsource. What will be the problem with the Ugandan science outsourcing?
You cannot say you are manufacturing a human being and all you are bringing are shoes.
I believe that
let me switch off Ssemujju.
I believe that progressively as we move, when the petrochemical industry picks up, when we have started extracting our oil, a lot of things are going to be done here because the raw materials will be available. But progressively, we have so many Ugandans who have been proud of research, but all they can do their research could only end up in laboratories. So if time has come for researchers to work and integrate research, scientific research with manufacturing and the market, then the Ugandans are going to see themselves as picking up as a country. You look at China. How did China transform and take over to become the second biggest economy in the world? They invested in science, manufacturing, and they became the factory of the world. Right now, if China closes manufacturing, you can see the chaos that will be in the whole world. So if Uganda takes a strategic position in the manufacturing and they start doing that, and the members of parliament support, I want to thank Hon Ssemujju, because his attitude, look at his attitude as a member of parliament, is totally different from other people who go basically to oppose whatever government does. You can see he visited Kira, and he has promised that he'll visit again.
We've hosted Kira here severally.
So he's going to visit again. I wish the capital gang could also go and visit as capital gang, so that when I'm a part of the guests, I can also go and visit and see what exactly is happening. This is what the members of parliament should be doing. And that is how we can transform our nation. So, Hon Ssemujju, I'm thanking you very much. Take the same message to your friends in parliament. Let them continue supporting the effort of government. He raises a fundamental point. But what would a poor country do? That actually, we are not putting our resources in the way we ought to, given the priorities that we have. But if members of parliament must be paid well, the public service must be paid. That's where you begin. If people must eat food, the medicine must be put in the so there are areas, consumptive areas in Uganda, which eat a bigger part of our budget. But as the revenue performance improves, as the tax base grows, as the people appreciate the value of science, I believe you and your colleagues in parliament should be able to make a decision and put better money in those areas, so that tomorrow, whether we are present or not, but the people of Uganda should live a better life than we are living today because of the work we have done.
I want to respond a little bit to what Dr. Mumza has said about where we go. And the way I'm going to respond is like this. There is a gap between the scientists and innovations and the economists and how they understand the economy. Now this week, that it is important that we unite so that they can come and explain to us in a language we understand, and we can also go and explain to them in a language we understand. The development of the country is in between. So this Science Week, we have a dedicated day where we have invited economists, planners, policymakers. We are going to discuss, can science really develop the economy, or is it a waste? Because that understanding of how science works, because how does Chiramoto's benefit the economy? It does not really exist in the current mainstream economy. Because if you're going to look at inputs via output and balance that and say, we are putting in more input and we are getting, and this is an innovation, it is a younger industry which is growing, then you're missing the point. So we want to come and have a round table, and this is going to be followed. We have developed an understanding with the School of Economics. We are going to host these public discussions. How do the economists help the scientists to identify the beneficial innovations? Because we are missing that. We as scientists, we are doing the technologies, but they are the ones. Now, for example, when you talk about coffee, we the scientists disagree with the economists. And so we want to sit and talk. When the economists insist that we should be selling green beans, for us, we think there is a point at which we need to process, and we have moved. We have, for the first time, exported ground coffee, because for us, we have done the science, and we have seen the benefit of it that we can double, even triple the benefit from a kilogram of coffee by roasting and grinding it here. So I don't say the economists are wrong. I'm just saying let us come together and discuss. Then you talked about the taxes.
Yeah.
Now, when you
2 minutes, yes.
Yes, when you are developing an industry and you have an infant industry, you have to be very careful on how you allow that industry to grow. How do you give advantage to your internal industry to grow without undue competition from outside, without undue advantage? So since Uganda has taken the electric automotive industry as a domestically grown industry, we are going to progressively have policies which protect that industry and allow it to grow. So don't talk about electric cars as if everywhere, wherever it is made, it is going to be beneficial. And so I actually applaud that. I applaud that policy. When you are importing an electric car, yes, to protect the Kira industry. That is the purpose.
You know,
you first produce vehicles and then you stop those that are coming. You don't first stop and then you begin manufacturing.
I'm saying if there's some thinking to it, that's fair.
We are not stopping.
But Dr.
Let me close.
We are out of time, and listeners are going to be annoyed with me if I if you don't mention rabbits.
Just say
rabbits.
Which rabbits?
I don't know. There was so much about Dr. Musenero and rabbits in the.
No, it was something to do with.
To rest.
Not rabbits.
Yes, that is just.
There was one we bought at how much? 40 million.
Yes.
the students, especially, I want to appeal to the students out there. When you do experiments, many times they bring for you white rats. You don't see white rats running around. The rats we use in the experiments are different from the rats that you see around. And the particular rats we are buying were very specialized rats. And we still have them. We bought and we are multiplying them and we are using them for experiments. So I know it was 8 million.
It was 8 million.
Yes, I know there was that excitement.
But why don't we begin there instead of coffee?
Yes, actually, we are now working. We have built a center.
Yeah.
We have built a center, and we are going to start training people with this financial year beginning to actually modify them.
Thank you very much. Back to you now, Dr. Mumuza, on discussion on the budget 20.
Financial advisor to Minister of Finance.
Former, maybe you'd say, teacher of economics. I like Kaunga Masiko, one of our regular listeners, says giving 4 trillion to UDB was wrong, and giving 1 trillion to UDC should have been the other way around. 4 trillion to UDC, 1 trillion to UDB, because in his opinion, UDB behaves like a foreign commercial bank.
Well,
it's a good point to start.
It's a good point to start, but that's really, when you look at the budget in terms of numbers, you reach the point. Budgets are about strategy.
Plans.
Not just even a plan can be a short-term thing. The discussion we are having here of the likes of Honorable Kibirige, rest in peace, it's not what he began doing in that lab in Kawanda. There was a science teacher who trained him in the 60s. So science can be that far-fetched. When you discuss about the Boeings, we went really one time with Honorable Suruma and Whitaker had taken us to understand how these small entities in the west part of the US sustain that leading cutting edge in terms of innovation and science. And these guys told us, the science is in the brains of those kids, and you have to identify them as early as 2-3 years. When they are playing around, you begin to switch the direction the children are taking. The psychology is studying them. And I said, the moment we see the direction they are taking, those who are going to get into the future of science, we give them scholarships for life. Nobody will ever take it away from them. And it doesn't matter whether this is Ssemujju Nganda's kid, at that point we don't know. But we are looking, because that's a state asset. So how do you build those state assets? You begin to say the budget we are talking about today should be speaking to what should Uganda be in 2060. Because some of the things we are having today are the decisions we took or never took in 1986 and in 2005. The budget that we bring to Parliament, almost 40% plus, is for nothing because it is debt. They have nothing to do with it. The other part is what we call statutory spending. Again, it is for nothing. The Constitution has already bound it where it is. Now, at the end of the day, you are debating really less than 5%. Now, are you budgeting? Are you planning? It is all hemmed in for you. You are like on this one-way road, and there is jam. You just switch off the engine and listen to KFM and Capital Ganga and whichever other radio is available for you, if there is any, or you even go on your WhatsApp. And I see some people even they forget that the lights have now released them because they had forgotten the road was still there. So the budget must be speaking for me to those. So when we say we have increased the salaries for science teachers, good signal, but what about the labs? What about the motivation of the scientists? The facilitation of the scientists? You come back and say if somebody has spent years training to be a medical doctor and will follow that last mile of internship, are you in for science solving your problems? And I think what Honorable Musenero was saying, you also want to balance. This is why economy sometimes we differ with very many people, including what Kahunga is raising. If you are a parent, every parent who has decided where their child should be in school is not just looking at the tuition in that school. They could have afforded a better school. What they are saying, besides paying fees, which is a long-term investment for the kid, I have to provide food for this child. They need to go for health care. They need to have housing. So it's okay, I might want science of day farmer, but should I give 700 billion at this point in time when, as I've said, there are already people in Mulago who can't get their cancer dose today? It's a very expensive treatment, 2 million a dose, and not many Ugandans can afford that. So you're beginning to lose them. But you have given 700 billion to day farmer in 1 year. I could have worked with these day farmer fellows and say, what is the nature of your investment? And economists, you do that investment, especially the ones of this nature. I will finance you over 5 years. Because I don't want to forget that I put all the money in fees because my child must be in school X, and then I have no money left for the food of the children, for their housing, for their health care, because you saw this thing. And that's why sometimes we disagree with some allocations, not that because there is no good point and idea. As we said earlier, it's okay to roast Ugandan coffee, but how much of it should you roast? Because you are going to say, yeah, I've roasted and sold. This is just a very small, about 100 tons. Even if it's small, the bulk of it must go raw. And then you are part of those global value chains. If you are going to get an investment, we got a good discussion yesterday with the PSS Drama. Look at the fellows we are bringing into the refinery. United Arab Emirates. They are not just bringing you money. They are bringing you that big knowledge of the refinery aspects. So if I really wanted to process coffee, shouldn't I have gone to the big roasters in Germany? They will bring the money, they will bring the knowledge, they will bring it. So I don't have to encroach on the government budget. But now you're going to begin giving UDB. UDB has 1 trillion. What is 1 trillion? Is that a development bank? Is that a kiosk in the banking sector? You have an economy of 226 billion. Your development bank is 1 trillion. I don't even want to call it a development bank. That's just petty cash in a big bank.
In supermarket.
So it's going to get into things that you don't want to see. So you look at UDC. So really the budget is.
That's why Kaunga has called it a foreign bank. It's like behaving like, because they have so little money. Is that what you're saying?
You don't even have money, so I don't want to call it a bank. But you know, so the other bigger part, and I think this was strategy misses us as I come basically to a comma, is strategy. You have put into the budget, I think, what did we put in? 175 billion, what we're calling interest-free loans for commercial farmers. You are borrowing this money from Stanbic because you are going to issue a bond at 18%. Now, who is going to pay the 18%?
Government.
It's government. But also government, by borrowing from Stanbic, the person you are calling a commercial farmer, in the first place, has to go to Stanbic to borrow the original money so that Stanbic's interest will be paid by government. But now when this guy as an individual goes, because government went to the same Stanbic, picked out a cost-free loan at 18%, Stanbic is going to lend to this guy at 35%. His business will never even take off. So who is fooling who in these logics
But
and
also,
dynamics?
This Dr. Professor Mumuza is the advisor to, he has been, I don't know whether he still is.
Now he's a lecturer at
But also we still advise. Doctors will tell you, don't do this, don't do this.
Yeah.
We have had accidents. The road has advised, please at this point drive at 100. You find somebody at 140. Now, does that mean UNRA and the Ministry of Works was wrong? They gave you the advice. They will even some tell you don't overtake. The line is very clear, continuous in the middle of the road. The road speaks. So giving advice, I don't want to blame the advisor, but the person on the steering wheel. What were you doing overtaking in a corner? Sometimes that person is not there because he has died, but also he has killed the others in the process.
Let's go to Hon Ssemujju here. You have, should I call it a minority report or alternative report?
But I want to congratulate you for that report.
Yeah.
It has very good content.
Apart from the beginning, why must you start your report by saying Museveni and Kasaija both aged 80 years, presenting a 72 trillion? Is it connected with? Are there
in my training, Oscar, as a journalist, a human being, the attention of a human being is divided to so many things. My job as a journalist is to draw the attention of that person to what I want to say.
You are an MP now, not
no,
journalist.
but there is no training for MPs.
So maybe that first paragraph you could have excused the 80-year-olds.
Why have you started with it?
Because it is the beginning of your report.
Exactly.
It isn't. But 34 trillion to be raised by URA, and you pass this in May 2025. It's no wonder now URA writes to me every week on a fine, a penalty, whatever, most of them incorrect.
I think the policy of government, even when you read the domestic revenue mobilization strategy, they committed themselves that they want the tax to GDP ratio to at least raise up to 17. But at the moment we are averaging 14, sometimes even less. Yeah. So the point,
the highest has been 14.
So the Professor Mumuza can tell us why a GDP of now declared, because they keep computing it, 226 trillion. Why can't that GDP give us 40? Because in the development report, development plan, I think the target is about 50. I'm not sure. Yeah, because if you have a milk, or a cow, or a dairy one, you feed it with everything that. So the production must commensurate to the investment that you are making that dairy animal. So this what we keep grappling with every year we are in Parliament. Because if you go back to 2021, 2022, those financial years, URA on average has collected about 25, 26 trillion. So the tax collection has been growing by about 2 trillion every year. So the target
Actually,
they put
25 is the highest, and that
26.
26. Okay.
Yes. So the target that was given to URA this next financial year that they will correct 34 trillion, URA will not correct it, and finance knows that they will not correct it. But they did so just to grow the budget figure to come to 27. Because if you read the reports of the Auditor General, all of them, because there is the actual money available for spending and then the budget, like it is with any budget, even if it is for a smaller budget. And then you begin spending according to what you have. We've never gone beyond 52 trillion. So the budget usually is 70 something, 60 something, but the actual money available, what we have borrowed. I was telling the Honorable has been processing the budget. In his own document, he says, first of all, money in the international market is no longer available. That these lenders are actually concentrating on their own economies, and Trump has made it even worse. So they will not have money. And that's why if you look at the list of those who are lending us money now, the IMF is at 12 trillion. China is growing by day. China is now at 9 trillion. It is the second biggest lender of money to Uganda. And understand Chinese loans. This financial year, last financial year, China collected from Uganda in terms of payment 650 billion, 222 billion in interest alone. And that's why finance, they will prepare very good documents, I think, when the MOMSAs are with them, and they will tell you expenditure that go beyond the revenue projections are a problem. But you go ahead and make them. But for me, Oscar, the most significant thing in the budget, my presentation to Parliament, if you look at the items, and I want you to mark this, the priorities in the budget: science, agro-industrialization, tourism, ICT. We are going to spend 4 trillion on the priorities. And then we are going to spend 4 trillion on workshops, on donation, on special meals and drinks, on travel inland, travel abroad. So the amount of money that you are going to give to 400,000 government employees who are less than 1% of the population equals the amount of money you are going to spend on priority.
And by default, those now become the priorities.
Exactly. So what is stated and declared is a lie. And Abdu, and I want to thank him. So when you tell the MPs that actually this budget is just a lie, then MPs will jump up, they will shout at you. Because how can you, this next financial year, which begins just 2 weeks from now, you're going to spend 960 billion, almost a trillion, on travel inland to fuel Dombo's car to go to Mbarara to campaign, to stay in a hotel. Because all these government vehicles that you see.
Last week I noticed he has an escort.
Yeah, and why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't
Previously
he?
he didn't have.
Yeah, but previously was it the dome of today?
Okay. But
So-
conclude with that sentence.
Yes, so that's what the budget is, that the stated priorities receive less.
Yeah.
What is not stated as a priority receive more. So my fear is that this budget cannot take us anywhere. We will continue just surviving like a child survives on the street, because someone was saying that economic growth will be 6%. Even children who are abandoned by their parents and on the street, they also grow. But that's not the life that they want to celebrate. So Uganda is like a street child. Will just continue growing without care. And then someone else will proclaim that the child on the street is growing.
First pause, the Honorable Katonto coming in. You know, I think next year I'll after Ssemujju has written his report, I'll help him edit. Now, when he talks about 460, 60 billion going to, that's Rocco, 247 billion going to Congo. The introduction to that section, I will not read out here.
You should. It's a document, it's a public document.
This is morning
Already
radio.
presented.
Already
This is morning radio, the public.
But if they presented it in Parliament, you are cheating the public.
So, but
There is nothing obscene about that document. Just read it.
Next year I'll edit.
But this document was in court.
Yeah.
I am not the one who invented. So that content that you see there was.
Edit will not read.
That's the problem. Just read it. Have the courage to.
No, not today. So 247 billion to Congo, 60 billion to Rocco, Pinetti another 465, and I'll also not read his comments there. Yes, and he protests that URA may not raise the 34 trillion.
You see, sometimes you are caught between a rock and hard place, and it's a very difficult position to be in. Let us look at the 240 billion being paid to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. How did this arise? We went to Congo for both legitimate reasons and eventually did illegitimate things there, and the cost came to this. As you know, DRC took us to court, and we lost the case. When we lost the case, we were required to pay close to $100.
$6 billion.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. So we went and negotiated to pay less over some time, and this 240 is part of the part payment. What we should have asked at that time as a country. Parliament, many, especially members of the opposition, raised this issue. How did we arrive at that position? Who are the people who committed all these problems for us to pick the bill? Because we went there and started one. I think it was about the behavior of the UPDF, both in terms of treating the Congolese people, but also getting our ugly hands to Congolese resources, plundering really. So who plundered? And because if government keeps quiet and doesn't come and explain to the people, we are paying this money because our soldiers who went into Congo committed bad-mannered soldiers who went there committed these financial crimes and so on, then that's a problem. So this is a bill which ordinarily we should not even be thinking about, Oscar. But there we are, there is a judgment against us, we have to pay it. Because this sort of judgments or international obligation can be executed. Tomorrow I don't want the Uganda airline plane to be flying to South Africa and is impounded there, or even any of our international transaction to be garnished. So the other amount was about what? About Pinet.
Yes. 400.
I think Pinet has been one of those sad stories in the recent history of our country. Because we've made noise. We've made noise. And said this thing has become a bottomless pit. And all excuses have been given. There is no accountability. Nobody who has a public oversight role has gone and seen what Pinet is doing. Then I get excited these days. I see many people getting excited. I am not. Let me tell you, Oscar, a hospital is not about brick and mortar. I don't know how Ugandans think. A hospital is not that sort of thing we are seeing that is coming up for the money we put in. A hospital is about equipment, it is about the human resource there. And if just putting brick and mortar has taken us, the first payment we made was around, I think, 6 years ago.
Last parliament.
Last parliament, the first coin we put there. But brick and mortar, which anybody can do it. Anybody in this country can put up a building, any company, because it's about steel, it is about cement and sand, nothing else. But we've taken 6 years to put up just a structure, not equipment.
The specialized one.
Yes, not the specialized equipment we need, including the specialized personnel we might need. We have not, but we've sunk in billions and billions of shillings. This thing about Lubowa, everybody has sought an explanation. Actually, including ministers. When you talk to them, basically they are saying, no, let you go and ask some other person. We are not. I'm not so sure even whether Minister of Health itself,
will not speak about it.
Even Minister of Health itself, I think has no answers. And whenever you ask them, they are saying, no, please. You ask other people, we are not involved. Whether it is Dr. Chen, whether it is Dr. Diana, there is a problem with Lubowa. It is more or less like, Oscar, what is happening at Parliament. We need to build that new chambers and so on. Last Parliament, we paid them the money, a full bill. Now, they exhausted the money without doing the job. Then they went to government, to the president actually. Say we don't have money to do your job, but we had already paid them. So the president said, okay, maybe we should get government to lend you money. Or buy shares.
60 billion.
No, the total is 200. We are now paying them over a period.
Yes. So it's like, okay, maybe we buy what we call preferred shares within your company. Not because the company was doing well, but because the company was doing badly and it needed liquidity. So now government has to give them money to do our job, yet we had already paid them money. So these are the sort of questions Ssemujju was raising, and I can see you also very reluctant to read it because you think it is too hard.
Read it. Just the descriptions.
The language is in the judgment.
So, and I can tell you that's where the problem is. And I was saying Ssemujju raises very, very big legitimate questions, especially about the budget process. And then There are those people who are excited, they're happy with the language he uses. Then there are those who are also annoyed by the language. And both of them miss out the point. But these are the legitimate questions we should be asking as Parliament. And I've got to congratulate him as the Shadow Minister of Finance because he has done his job.
He's also brave to speak about Sheikh Mubaje.
At a brave, Oscar. This is a budget. In the budget, Mubaje has 14 billion to pay because he sold the land in Zimbabwe. You know, Idi Amin gave the Catholics, the Protestant and Muslims
I recuse myself from that discussion.
each 5
you were saying it's
square
a public document.
each 5 square miles. So Mubaje sold the 1 square mile to one buyer. After a period of, he also sold it to another. They had come with a court judgment and order to attack the National Mosque. So he runs to Museveni. In this budget, he has 14 billion to repay the debt. So my issue had nothing to do with Mubaje, but my issue was with borrowing money at high interest to pay private debt. And then you classify it as public debt. Because even Rocco borrowed from DFCU, from Stambik, from everywhere. They failed to pay. The same applies to Pineti.
And actually with Rocco, Parliament had intended to call on the guarantee of the banks. Then the President said, no, we shall cause a problem with the banks. Let us just give them money. But these banks, I'm sure they should have done due diligence on the person they are guaranteeing. Because that's the risk they take.
And if it's a bad debt, it's a bad debt.
Yes. They should be able to pay the price. Why should the common man, the taxpayer, pay a bill because DFCU was eager to get some little fees to guarantee something which they had not done due diligence about? It doesn't make a common sense, neither does it make economic sense, not even legal sense.
Emmanuel Dombo, let me trust you to find the positives in this budget.
Oscar,
They are there. You always asked us the negative.
Oscar,
I'm asking him to present on the positives.
listening to the members of Parliament speak makes me get worried because I don't know
They approve the budget.
whether the constitution changed or what they are supposed to do changed. Because I was in Parliament myself for 20 years and I know that the rear guard and front guard and side guard that the people of Uganda put are the members of Parliament. They not only approve the budget, but it is one of the few countries in the world where the loans are approved by members of Parliament before government executes them. So our hope as people and voters are purely members of Parliament who were given the powers of court in the execution of their work, either to summon or to invite or call for evidence. And this is something that we did for that over that period. And Honorable Katuntu here was very good. At times he was leading counsel in some of the select committees. Honorable Ssemujju Min, at times he becomes naughty for political expedience. But I know he's a very knowledgeable person who can still help Parliament do what it is supposed to do. But going to the positives, without necessarily going to the figures, the other day, I met young people, and they were talking. Some of them were borders, and one of them said, "Uganda, Chinyuma." Uganda, the country. And even on social media here, there is a young man who went to do TikTok from Rwanda, and it has been circulating. And when he came back, he said, "You people don't know how beautiful Uganda is." Without looking at the figures and looking at how far we have moved, in Christianity we say Beneza, you can see the milestones that have been overcome because of the good work that has been done by our vision bearers, by the technocrats, but also at times by the members of Parliament when they make decisions in Parliament. When you look at the macroeconomic side, you can see that there has been growth in the country. You can see this growth in individuals. Look at the members of Parliament. Just at the ambience, how they look like, how they those who promised that they were going to parliament to fight against President Museveni, they ended up getting to parliament and getting transformed, either economically or socially. Those are the basics without getting the figures. When you look at the economy, our currency is one of the most stable currencies in the recent history. The professor will tell us how we have come to this. Professor will tell us how we have come to this. But these are positives. And the other day I read how the IMF determines the poverty that people living into $3 per day. In Uganda, a family can survive on 10,000 shillings. Eating a balanced diet, living well, and being very happy. So Uganda, although we have the other economic challenges, but within the means that people can work hard, even that little money can make us survive, unlike in the other regions. I was looking at the level of exports. I think Uganda is the only country in the region which exports more to the neighbors than it imports. And there are bigger reasons what this brings about to us as an economy. When you look at how people live, fuel is expensive. I swear. I live near the border here in Kenya. I was asking myself the other day, I saw many people coming to Uganda to buy fuel, crossing on the other side. Many trucks which come to Uganda prefer to buy Uganda fuel and fill in their tanks when they are getting back. Why is this happening? And I think this is because of the good advice done by Professor and team. When you look at our exports, level of exports, the minister was very clear and very, very happy. I've never seen my brother Matia Kasaija, Honorable, this happy when he previously demonstrated that the economy was on takeoff. But when you look at the GDP and even FDI receipts in the country, you can see that government is making progressive leaps, and it is the work of Parliament now to ensure that the leakages in the budget, because that's where our biggest problem is. What Honorable Katuntu and Honorable Ssemujju Min here is talking about, we have a lot of leakages at the level of collection of the tax. The minister promised to do something and undertake some reforms and import technology in order to fight against leakages. But also the people themselves, these issues which have been defining here. How can Peneti keep taking money and you cannot get to him? And then you keep approving more. And you're members of parliament. Because that's the power of the past. That's what I was used to be told when I was a member of parliament. How can you be a member of parliament and you can't ask the hard questions? At least let them provide the answers. Because even when we were in parliament last time, and there was a very big argument at one time whether we should summon the president to come and appear before a select committee. And we had to get a compromise where the committee had to go to State House, meet the president, but the president
the president will come. The CDF
the president provided answers. But these days, you hear members of parliament, they are supposed to, even when they could use the budget as a sanction, not to do things until certain things have been done, they renegade. They renegade on what they are supposed to do. So this budget, to me, when I look at the various sectors that have been allocated money, you see that there is a lot that has done to stimulate growth. The only challenge now, this as a beneficiary, let me talk about this. There has been some proposition which has been made. Government provides a lot of money, wealth creation funds, but also money to help private individuals like the farmers. I'm a farmer, and there is a group of farmers which had not been progressively supported, yet they are capable of transforming society. The small scale farmers who have benefited from PDM, that has helped them to come and leverage, get into the money economy. But there are middle farmers middle group, which are capable of providing the required resources and inputs for the industries. Because the small-scale farmers may not do what may be required. When you go to northern Uganda, for instance, I'm a cattle farmer and I go to buy seed cake from Lira whenever I get some money. But you can find that there are many farmers who farm above 10, 20, 30 acres who need a lot of support, yet when you send them to UDB, the money is not readily available, or the requirements that they're supposed to fulfill in order to access that money. At times they don't, in which case UDB therefore chooses to give money to these people who build these things in Kampala called what? Malls. They build supermarkets, they build malls, instead of lending to the farmers who would be intended beneficiaries. So this is an area where government has provided some money in the budget to help such farmers, but the question is, will the money be reaching and will the money come? Apart from the bad side, which Honorable Katuntu and the Ssemujju Nganda has looked at, the budget has propelled growth as an instrument for planning, as an instrument for strategic interventions like government has done. We believe we can do better if all members of parliament as politicians choose to think together as the country.